Hi, I will have to speedrun this talk, so if you want a more relaxed version of it, you can scan the QR code or go to tinyurl.com/Devcon, where I gave this talk in a 25-minute version. Let's start with the problem that I have with proposer-builder separation, why I think it's not a good idea. There are three main arguments in my point of view. First, the trust and centralization problems that it brings onto the Ethereum base layer for all types of transactions, not even the ones that actually contain MEV. Ethereum today is proud to have more than 1 million validators proposing and validating the chain, and we are one of the most decentralized chains, or the most decentralized chains in the world. But at the end of the day, if you look at it, there's only two very well-known entities, Beaver and Titan, that propose more than 90% of the block's contents. And how valuable is it really to have a vast validator network when the most important part, the content of the block, is decided by two entities? Moreover, PBS adds this trusted component to the supply chain, the MEV relay that builders have to put their faith in. And even if we trust the research that's ongoing, that's trying to propose ways to enshrine the MEV relay into the base layer and get rid of that trusted component, I think there's a couple of issues with that. First, it adds complexity to the core protocol, one thing that we're trying to avoid. And second of all, it's not even clear that if implemented, it will find adoption because MEV is a very latency-intense game, and any decentralized peer-to-peer gossip-based solution is always going to have latency disadvantages and also feature disparity. Builders today want to have bid cancellation as an example. They want to make a bid and then cancel it if they change their mind. And such a feature is simply not possible in an enshrined PBS version because once you gossip the message, you cannot take it back. And let's not forget that PBS actually maximizes the harm that is inflicted on users. In order to win the PBS auction, you have to create the block that is extracting the most value via sandwiching or other types of MEV attack. And thus we've created a system that really favors the worst possible outcome for the user. Okay, enough of a rant. What do we do about it? First, let's maybe take a step back and try to find out why does MEV exist in the first place. And here really the fundamental reason is that in today's system, every token trades at many different prices within the same block. Here I brought you an example block from a couple of days ago in which ETH/USD trades at least 7 different times with 7 different prices. And so you'll see sexdex arbitrageurs that are able to access, for instance, the Uniswap pool at the previous block's outdated price, and then the rest of the block will trade at the new kind of fair equilibrium price. You will see liquidators that are able to get bad collateral at a fixed liquidation penalty, 15–20% below fair market price, and the rest of the block trading at a different price. And last but not least, you have sandwichers that front run a user to buy a token at price A, the user then prices it at price B, and the sandwicher sells it at price C. All of these strategies have one thing in common. The same asset trades in the same block at different prices. And the reason for this is that we basically took our very well best known standard first come, first served mechanisms that work in traditional continuous time markets and deployed them on blockchain. And this was the key mistake. Ethereum doesn't have continuous time. There's only new information being released every 12 seconds, and then it's released in one go. And the ordering of the information within the block is up to a unilateral party, the proposer, to decide how to order things there. And so it's unsafe to deploy any kind of mechanism that works on continuous time on a discrete time blockchain. So what's next? How can we do to fix this? Well, as you might guess, we need to come to a point where trading the same asset in the same block should lead to the same execution regardless of trade ordering. Or put differently, we need to get to one price per token per block. This design requires to be able to batch trades together so it doesn't work on raw Ethereum transactions. Instead, we need trade intents or just signed limit orders and batch those together in a multidimensional auction which can later be cleared at a single price. For details on how this looks, I encourage you to look at Cow Protocol, the trading mechanism that powers Cow Swap, which pioneered and implements this mechanism. It's processing many billions of dollars in transaction volume every month and is basically proof that this mechanism can work on chain. Cow Protocol provides MEV protection for all the cases that I mentioned on 2 slides ago. We protect swappers by having buyers and sellers that trade the same asset receive the same price regardless of their ordering, and we can even match them together in what is known as coincidence of ones. By making AMMs part of the batch and treating them like swappers, LPs no longer trade at outdated prices, but instead get the fair new equilibrium clearing price. And liquidations are just stop-loss orders, which you can also add to the total liquidity pool and make sure that collateral recovery happens at the most efficient and fair price. I want to leave you with this number, which is a Dune query that you can check for yourself, that shows that more than 97% of MEV today is trading related. And that is sandwiches, sex arbitrage, back running, liquidations. And those can be vastly reduced, if not completely eliminated, at the application layer by not using pseudo-continuous time mechanisms. So I'd like you to join me on my mission to convince this space that we should fix the mechanism rather than making the chain more complex. And with that, thank you very much.
Thanks for that great talk. If any of you have questions, you need to scan the QR code and ask the questions remotely. I'm going to read out the question for those joining virtually. Do you have an estimation of reduction in MEV if only DEX used is cow?
Yeah, so right now CowSwap focuses on swap MEV protection. I didn't break the number 97% into swap, AMM resistance, and liquidations. So right now it would probably be less than 97%, but the mechanism itself, not the product as it exists today, but the mechanism itself would be able to reduce MEV by that number that I showed.
The other question is, do you think PBS causes centralization or is it correlation?
I think PBS causes centralization mainly because it's a winner-takes-all latency game. I wouldn't say it's correlation. There's also a reason, I couldn't get to that slide because I didn't have enough time, for why I think Cow protocol or an application-specific auction is not going to cause the same centralization, or even if it would not affect kind of all types of transactions. So if I want to make a transfer, I'm not kind of subject to the censoring that happens today in the builder market. But yeah, for this, I would refer to the longer talk.
Yeah. How would you compare Cow with what Sorella is doing to fix MEV on the application layer via Uniswap hooks?
Yeah, I mean, Cow is working and out there and live. I think the mechanism is relatively similar. Yeah, I think that's the gist of it.
You can deal with the last question. How does Cow deal with multi-block MEV?
It doesn't because basically the batch itself has its own kind of heartbeat, its own time, and so if you were to try to do multi-batch MEV, I think you're running the risk that whoever solver will win the batch is going to execute the trade before you. So there's no real incentive for you to censor or try to delay execution to another batch.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.